Now, then the soul has the possibility, according to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, to go to various lokas or realms or realities. But this also is temporary process. There are 6 lokas. There's the Deva Loka, which is the heavens where the gods are. There's the Ashura Loka, which is supposedly those fallen angels. There's the human loka. There's the loka of the lower human beings, according to the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Then there are supposedly the ghosts. And then there is those who are lost after the death, after their own death. Is lost in this wandering. But all of these lokas are temporary. And eventually the soul frees from that and continues with its evolutionary process. Let's read another section from Seth. Certain images have been used to symbolize such a transition from one existence to another, and many of these are extremely valuable in that they provide a framework with understandable references, so that when the soul leaves, he's waiting to see certain things and knows what to do. The crossing of the river Styx is one, ancient Greek idea. The dying expected certain procedures to occur in a more or less orderly fashion. The maps were known beforehand. At death, the consciousness hallucinated the river vividly. The consciousness of the dying person would see this river because they expected to see this river. Relatives and friends were already there, already dead, entered into the ritual, which is a profound ceremony also on their parts. The river was as real as any you know, as treacherous to a traveler alone without proper knowledge. Guides were there at the river to help such travelers across. It does not do to say that such a river is an illusion. The symbol is reality, you see. The way was planned. Now that particular map is no longer generally in use. The living do not know how to read it. Christianity has believed in a heaven and a hell, a purgatory and a reckoning. And so at death, to those who believe in these symbols, another ceremony is acted. So having an idea in our minds of what we're going to encounter helps us go through that. So knowing that we will be met by loved ones or by beings of light, we will pay attention to them. We won't ignore them. Knowing that we're going to go through an evaluation of our lives helps us to go through it more relaxed way, in a clear way, and use that, you see. A belief in hellfires can cause you to hallucinate hell conditions. A belief in a stereotyped heaven can result in hallucination of heavenly conditions. You always form your own reality according to your ideas and expectations. This is the nature of consciousness in whatever reality it finds itself. Such hallucinations, I assure you, are temporary. Consciousness must use its abilities. The boredom and stagnation of a stereotyped heaven will not for long content the striving consciousness. There are teachers to explain the conditions and circumstances. You are not left alone, and therefore lost in mazes of hallucination. You may or may not realize immediately that you are dead in physical terms. If you believe, this is Seth again, all men are evil, you simply will not experience the goodness in men. You will be completely closed to it. They will in turn always show you their worst side. You will telepathically see to it that others dislike you, and you will project your dislike upon them. Your experience, in other words, follows your expectations. Now the same applies to after-death experience and to the dream experience and to any out-of-the-body encounters. If you are obsessed with the idea of evil, then you will meet evil conditions. If you believe in devils, then you will encounter these. As I mentioned earlier, there is greater freedom when consciousness is not physically directed. Okay? So I think we get the message that after we go through the evaluation, then we exist in a state of reality which is created by our level of consciousness. We may encounter other beings and co-create realities there with other beings who are working at the same frequency, with the same lessons or the same level of consciousness. Now what happens? Now, until now, everything that we have said, we have seen there has been a 100% agreement from all of the 12 sources. Now, 2 of those sources break off. And that is the traditional theological stance of Christianity and of Islam, and I would say of Judaism. Whereas all the other sources, Socrates, Theosophy, the daily work, Hinduism, Buddhism, and all the other sources say that the next step is reincarnation. So now we have 2 possibilities. With the traditional Judaic, Christian, and Islamic concept, the soul then waits for the day of judgment. It has no more chances. Which, if this is true, I think God's going to be pretty lonely in heaven, because I haven't met any perfect people. So unless some kind of leeway is given for who's going to get into heaven and who's not, it's very likely that no one is going to end up there. The second possibility, which we are given by the other religions, is that the soul gets another chance. It comes back, it creates a new mind, a new body, it lives another life, decides on what lessons it's going to work on in that life, and tries again to perfect itself. So we have 2 concepts here. The one concept is that you get one life, you get one chance, and then you just wait for the day of judgment. You can do nothing else but wait. And the second is that you come back and you continue this evolutionary process. Now, there are rumors and beliefs where people say that they believe that there was a lot about reincarnation in the Bible, or in the interpretation of the Bible, but was removed during a Holy Synod around 536 in Constantinople, when Justinian was the king at that time. And according to the Catholic Encyclopedia, which may be biased, it was a synod which was rather sinister, in which even the Pope was detained, put in jail or something like this. It was a time when there was a conflict between the 2 churches. And at that time, it's supposedly, I wasn't there, I don't know, I can't say anything for sure here, but supposedly some sections about reincarnation were removed from the Bible. But even though some sections have remained which can be interpreted in a way so as to believe in reincarnation. One section is where, first of all, the idea of karma, we must understand, is definitely in the Bible. It says that as you sow, so shall you reap. He who lives by the sword will die by the sword. This is obviously the law of karma. What you do will come back. When Christ heals the paralyzed man, he says, get up, walk, take your bed with you, your sins are forgiven. So he says he's making a direct relationship between his paralysis and his sin. So we see that the concept that my illness, my problems, is a result of something that I have done, that is the law of karma, is 100% a Christian concept. Now, the reincarnation, there are 2 sections here. First of all, well, I would say 3. One is that we do not see that all people who live by the sword die by the sword. So we see many good people dying to us unjust deaths, and we see many unjust people living a fruitful life into an old age. So unless we say that, well, the payment for this will be in the afterlife, at least in this life we don't see the law as you sow, so shall you reap. We see it sometimes, and other times we don't see it. So one possible answer to this, well, the payment is in the afterlife. Another possible explanation is, well, it's in the next incarnation. Secondly, when Christ healed the blind man, his disciples asked him, was he born blind by his own sins or by his parents' sins? Of course, Christ's answer was neither. He was born blind in order to show the glory of God. That is, by my healing his blindness so that people would believe. But the question posed says that the apostles believed that he could have sinned before being born. So the question is, where could he have sinned before being born? The only possibility here is that he has lived previously. Okay? And the third one is when they ask about Elias, they ask Christ, well, where is Prophet Elias? Prophet Elias was supposed to come again before you, the Messiah. And his answer was, he came and they did whatever they liked with him. And all understood that he was referring to John the Baptist. And so Christ is clearly saying that John the Baptist was an incarnation of Prophet Elias. Now, there might be some other kind of explanation for these words, but these sections could be interpreted as referring to reincarnation. On page 7 of the sheets that we have given you, we have some interesting quotations about reincarnation by Jesus, by Plato, by Hermes Trismegistus, by Albert Schweitzer, Benjamin Franklin, Goethe, Carl Jung, Tolstoy, Nietzsche, Giordano Bruno, Balzac, Thomas Huxley, and Henrik Ibsen. So these are some quotations which you might find interesting. I was surprised to hear that these people had said these things about reincarnation.